Hi there. I am back with not a news story, not a video, but in this live chat session on daily basis, we exchange views in these live chats. I read your comments, I respond to your questions, and that is how we stay connected. Thank you for joining the live chat session. Uh, Let me welcome the participants, take their questions. Then a roundup of two upcoming news stories. Teddy Fan is the first one who commented today. Teddy Fan is a regular viewer. He says, "Hi Sajid. So Ethiopian government at last got the 2 billion it wanted. No, that's not the 2 billion or 3 billion bailout package. 2 billion US dollars bailout package for which Ethiopian government has been in talks with IMF World Bank. It is 2.2 billion. Burr. Love wins says, why are you fascinated with Ethiopian politics, sir? Why shouldn't I be fascinated with Ethiopian politics? What's wrong with a foreigner covering Ethiopia? I mean, if I want to learn about Ethiopia and I want to share my understanding with people, anything wrong with that? Yes, you can say what makes me interested in Ethiopian politics. I have answered this question so many times that it was basically Tigray war, which took me to take interest in Ethiopian affairs. I have been covering wars for years, and when war broke out in Tigray in Ethiopia, I decided to understand it and to make videos on that, and that was my start of covering Ethiopia. S says the insider. Love wins says usually there is benefit or an agenda. I have no agenda, but yes, I have a benefit that I make videos, people watch videos. Those who are outside Ethiopia, when they watch videos, I get money. Whenever you make YouTube videos, no matter which the topic is, you make money, but you have to work hard. Eddie Fan, do you think the current ethnic federalism is bringing people together in Ethiopia? Well, uh, Ethiopia has tried a central system in the past too. Then TPLF led EPRDF came to power. It tried ethnic federalism. Both experiments have been made, I think. Maybe Ethiopia needs something in between. But for that something in between to be introduced, you need to have consultations, need to have participatory, inclusive decisions. So far, people are fighting about centralized system versus ethnic federalism. What about any alternative? Those who criticize ethnic federalism, what do they propose? What should happen? Now, two main topics in today's live chat. Firstly, was Eritrea lashed out at an Ethiopian news outlet. And by the way, Eritrea is very critical of this news outlet. This is the second time in last 2 years, second or third time that Eritrea used very strong language against this Ethiopian news outlet, accusing it of being backed by foreigners. Secondly, grant for Ethiopia, 2.2 billion grant and 14 million US dollar grant, you can say, from Canada for the implementation of Pretoria deal. Why is Canada so interested in Tigray? Canada has announced several grants for DDR, disarmament, demobilization, reintegration of Tigray fighters. What are Canada's interests? If you remember, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau talked to Ethiopian Abiy several times in from 2020 to 2022 during the long war. Why is Canada so keen for peace in Tigray? If Hamasyan joined to LM Simple Food joined. It's a very interesting name, LM Simple Food. Maybe it was a YouTube channel. That is why this name was chosen, LM Simple Food. Am I right? LM Gizao says, hello, same interest as the six Indians, politics, lots of immigrants. Firstly, it was Eritrea. Uh, Eritrean government, Eritrean Ministry of Information issued a statement today through the minister. Yemane Gebremeskel is the Minister of Information of Eritrea. And he published a message on his social media account about an Ethiopian news outlet. Name of the news outlet is Addis Standard. Who owns Addis Standard? I think a lady who is from Oromia. Her name is Sidale, if I'm not wrong. I find it difficult to pronounce her name. The lady is from the Oromia region, and generally, Addis Standard is seen as a pro Oromia, pro OLF, Ola news outlet. The Minister of Information of Eritrea criticized Addis Standard. Why? What did Addis Standard report, and what did the Minister of Information of Eritrea say? The Addis Standard shares the statements of Tigray government, Tigray leaders. It publishes articles about Ethiopian affairs, Horn of Africa affairs, about Somalia, Eritrea too. But people say that it is working to protect Oromo interests. In an article, Addis Standard mentioned Tigray's position that Tigray wants the withdrawal of Eritrean forces from Tigray territories. And now this is a very sensitive matter for Eritrea. Whenever someone talks about the need for withdrawal of Eritrean military from Tigray territories, Eritrea is quick to respond. If you remember, I think a few days ago, Eritrea criticized European Union too. Why? Because Eritrea says that it is not in control of even an inch of any country's territory, that its forces are deployed in Eritrean sovereign lands. Only false propaganda is being spread. Tigray's position is that Tigray's territories are under the occupation of Eritrean military. Addis Standard wrote an article leaning towards support for Tigray's position. That is why Yemane Gebremeskel today released a message criticizing Addis Standard, calling it NED funded. NED, National Endowment Fund for Democracy, is an NGO based in the US. And years ago, it was revealed that Eddie Standard and some others received money from this NGO, international NGO, allegedly backed by US government. And whenever Eritrea criticizes Eddie Standard, it always calls it NED funded. Since in the past, Eddie Standard did receive money from NED, US based, US government backed international organization, which claims to be working for free speech, for democracy, etc. The minister says that NED funded outlet is spreading malicious propaganda against Eritrea. Eritrean military is on Eritrean sovereign land. It is not in occupation of any territory. But this NED funded outlet is deliberately spreading this false propaganda. Esther says Canada is after Tigray gold, nothing more, nothing less. Canadian companies were involved in gold mining in Tigray before the war. Now they want to rob our gold to be silencing. Well, okay, I'll respond to that. Ilya says why Ethiopia is diverting its problem on the name of Eritrea. Girme says you are always against the Tigray people and TPLF. You are always, always. What do you mean always? Which statement from my views and news, which my statement would you call it indicative of being always against TPLF and Tigray? Darni says, I don't know why people say SAS Avoki regime does not speak. They're very vocal. Yeah, they're vocal about issues they want to respond to, but they're silent about what is happening in Eritrea. Have you heard anything about their internal situation? Darni Muni proposed that you should write articles for the new website. He said that Darni has good command, strong views. People with strong views should be invited to write, as long as their articles are not hateful. They should be encouraged or asked to write. So the website should have strong views from all sides, logical arguments, without resorting to hate speech. So what do you say? Lilo says, do you have something to say about Asibit Tafiri or Kiro? Dani is not interested. Okay, let me write something and let Moni write something there. Hopefully, you'll be drawn in there. Secondly, viewers, 2.2 billion grant for Ethiopian government from Germany, the Netherlands, EU for conflict areas. Know you're on time, General Truth. Your Masgan joined to Maskan is talking about Skandar, that he will be the Prime Minister of Ethiopia. Smiling Forestry is joined to. So, 2.2 billion birr grant for Ethiopian government from some European countries for restarting businesses in conflict hit areas. And 14 million dollars support from Tigray for DDR, from Canada for DDR implementation in Tigray. Just a few minutes ago, a viewer said that Canada is after Tigray's gold. It is mining the nothing less, nothing more. But Gita Shoreda was seen with a Canadian diplomat in Makale today, I think. And there, the announcement came about $14 million grant for Tigray fighters who are going to be demobilized. So, Tigray, yes, Canadian companies are mining for gold in Tigray. A few days ago, we learned about a UAE based company, Mithra Metals, which has bought shares in a Canadian company which is already digging for gold in Tigray. So now indirectly, UAE is also digging for gold in Tigray. But will the Tigray government stop the UAE government or Canadian government? I don't think so. Why? Because the top tier of Tigray cannot cut off tie with all the countries. Uh, which countries stood with Tigray due to a long war? Which countries? I don't remember any countries being supportive of Tigray in a manner that was really supportive of Tigray. They only issued statements. Tigray was on its own. US, European countries, they just issued statements, just moral support, diplomatic support, but no real support for Tigray. Tigray suffered, still suffering. It was on its own. So can Tigray cut off links with the entire world? Is it viable? Is that what Tigray should do? No, this is not how countries are run, how regions are run. Tigray government will have to be very mature, very restrained in its response. And sometimes the agreements, such agreements about exploration, about mining, they have sovereign guarantees. If the agreements are not respected, then penalties are paid. Penalties have to be paid. Companies file lawsuits against the host countries. So it's not easy to just reject international agreements. That is why common people, definitely don't understand such complicated issues. It seems that the Tigray government wants to squeeze whatever it can from Canada. But I don't think it will stop Canada from its exploration work in Tigray. June is crucial, viewers, because in June, more Tigray fighters will be disarmed. How many? That we'll see. By the end of first week of June, the issue of Raya will be solved according to Varad. And by the end of first week of July, issue of Salamti and Western Zone, Humara Volca will be solved according to Tase Varad. In June, disarmament of more Tigray fighters, and in June, key decisions expected about Volca, Raya, and Salamti. And in June, we could see some progress towards implementation of Somaliland Ethiopia MOU. According to Somaliland, in 2 months, the MOU will be finalized into an agreement. So I think the next 2 months are very critical. Dr. Mosisa says, Sajid, are you sure that Eddie Standard is pro-OLF? Well, if you look at the reporting of that news outlet, it's very unfortunate that Ethiopian news outlets work along ethnic lines. Eddie Standard gives more coverage to the issues of Oromos and Oromia. Oromo, a viewpoint is given more coverage. Burkina, other news outlets affiliated with Amharas propagate Amhara issues. Yes, there is need for a neutral platform Just like we have my views in news, though people accuse me all the time, but we need to have a website as well, which has trust of all parties, where everyone can write, where no news uh, story has agenda behind that. The standard is better, I would say. I would say it's better than most of other news outlets. But yes, it tilts towards Oromi and Romos. Yemaskin says, Sajid, knowing Tigray people, do you really think Tigray is being disarmed? I don't think so. Well, Tigray says it has surrendered heavy weapons, group weapons too. Small arms, all of them cannot be taken from Tigray fighters. Why? Because Tigray needs weapons for its police as well. Tigray has every right to have a police force. It can raise militias too, by the way, though the government said there is no room for any militia in Ethiopia, but militias are there in Ethiopia. In Amhara region, strike force there. There is need of weapons for prison police as well. So small arms will remain in Tigray. All small arms will not be taken from Tigray fighters. So they'll be given to militias, police members, and prison police. So, and some people might be in possession of their own weapons. That is why complete disarmament is not possible. Not just in Tigray, in other parts of Ethiopia as well, you don't see complete disarmament. People are armed. Civilians are armed in Ethiopia. What about civilians in Oromia, especially in Amhara region? What about civilians in Vellaga, in North Shore, Amhara, Oromia? People are armed there. In Gondar, around Gondar, people are armed there. Common man. So same with Tigray. Two people are armed, heavily armed now after war. So how can you disarm entire Tigray? Tigray will surprise you with hiding heavy weapons. Well, they can capture heavy weapons. So if they have an army of 100,000 soldiers, they can launch big attacks, large scale attacks on ENDF bases, and they can capture heavy weapons from there too. Average Dom says it is true that Chinese company handed over the management of Ethiopia Djibouti railway service. Yeah, a ceremony was held 2 days ago, and I think for the last 5 years, the Chinese company has been running this rail service. It was built by China. Two Chinese company built it. So now the rail service is up for handing over ceremony. So China has handed over the fares to both countries, Ethiopia and Djibouti. Americans will give them. Daniel G says, well, Americans did not give anything to them. During the war, Americans did not supply weapons to the DPLF, or we could not confirm delivery of weapons from the US because Tigray was under siege. The government accused aid organizations of supplying weapons to Tigray. But those were allegations, I would say. We never found a smoking gun to prove that the US was arming Tigray fighters. It's 26 minutes have passed. I think we should end the live chat session. We covered two topics. Firstly, Eritrea slammed at a standard, an Ethiopian news outlet today, It criticized the standard for a report by the standard regarding the presence of Eritrean military in Tigray. Eritrea says that its forces are on sovereign Eritrean territory. It's not in control of any part of any country. Then we talked about Canada, Canadian government supporting Tigray, $14 million committed. Why? Because Canada is mining for gold in Tigray, and Tigray's government is on board with Canadian government. University Abriha joined too. He is the newest member of the channel. He became member yesterday. Welcome, University Abraha. Warm welcome to membership community. I talked about difference between membership and subscriber. Member is different. Subscriber is the one who just clicks subscriber link. Member is the one who becomes a member. You can click the link given in description section of the videos to take you to it will take you to membership page where you can be a member. Special welcome to you, University Abraham. 2.2 billion birr grant for Ethiopian government for restarting businesses in a war hit area. By the way, Tigray youths are in dire need of this money. Tigray's economy devastated, youths fleeing the region, fleeing the country, vulnerable to arms smugglers, paying them, dying on their way to Europe, to Yemen, through Libya. So I think the money should be spent in Tigray, in parts of Amhara, other parts of Ethiopia too, but where 80% of youths are unemployed in Tigray. Obviously, there is dire need for such spending of money on youth. Thank you for joining the live chat session. It was good to be with you. I'll be back tomorrow. Stay blessed. Bye bye.